The hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
But Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride!
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night!
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the Country Roads webcast. We're providing you West Virginia sports content from Mountaineer fans for Mountaineer fans. And how about a celebratory post-game stream as West Virginia comes from behind yet again, doing what they do all season, being so resilient. You know, that's the one thing I put out on social media. This one thing about this team that you couldn't question all season is their resiliency, their resolve, their heart, their fight, and they put all that on full display, not only in this championship game, but throughout this college basketball crown tournament. So had to come on here and talk about it and celebrate as West Virginia ends the season, ends a basketball season with a postseason tournament championship. Only the third time ever in school history that's happened. So a big moment. It's college basketball crown, a little money in the pocket there with the $300K. An all-time performance from Honor Huff. So plenty to discuss here. We're going to go over the stats from the game. Got a few clips I want to share, some tweets, and then I want to hear your all's thoughts. I'm sure you guys have as many thoughts on this as I do, so I'd love to hear some of your alls. I'll get to those towards the end of the show. I'll hit on all the comments from channel members and as many others as I can. In addition to that, if you want to make sure yours gets addressed, you can send it as a super chat there. Always appreciate that support. Helps keep the content coming here on the channel. And whether you're watching live or on a playback, you can help out fast, easy, and free with the thumbs up button. Help out with that crazy YouTube algorithm, and be sure you're subscribed here so you can get all our WVU sports content, plus be notified when we go live like this, and you can chat some Mountaineers with us. So that's what's on the docket for this one, guys. We're happy. We're in great spirits. West Virginia are the champions of the college basketball crown. Pretty awesome stuff to be able to say there. And hey, if you want an even brighter side, it's only the second year of the college basketball crown, right? But year one's champion, Nebraska, started 20-0 this season, made the NCAA tournament, made it to the Sweet 16 with a nice run there. So things bode well for the future, I think, coming out of this one. But let's take a look at the stats from the game. We'll get into that first, then I'll share some clips and stuff from the post game that Fox College Hoop shared and all that good stuff, and we'll get some of your all's comments as well. So let's start with the stats here, as the second overtime game in 3 games here for West Virginia in the college basketball crown, and they emerged victorious in overtime both times here. 89-82 over Oklahoma in this one to finish the season at 21-14. And as we mentioned heading into this game, West Virginia's first 20-win season since 2019, so that's big. Let's take a look at the team stats, then we'll talk individually. West Virginia shoots 47% from the field, and the fact that Oklahoma shot 53% from the field, I think, shows you that West Virginia's offense really came around a little bit in this tournament, because they had to have some scoring to be able to emerge victorious in multiple of these games. I think especially this one against Oklahoma, once they got hot. You know, after West Virginia was up early, Oklahoma was hot pretty much for the rest of the game there. There were some good defensive possessions by the Mountaineers in overtime. Once they got down 6, they rallied yet again for the win. Multiple rallies for West Virginia in this game, multiple rallies for West Virginia in this tournament. But you look, I think one of the big differences for the Mountaineers in this tournament was 3-point shooting. That had been kind of the thing all year, is if they got, close to double digits, if they got 10 threes in a game, they had a good chance to win. And you look now, second straight game, they've hit over that number. 15 threes in this game for West Virginia, shooting 45% from beyond the arc. Honor Huff, a big part of that. But, 15 threes is going to win you a lot of ball games there, especially when you're shooting nearly 50% from the 3-point line. And free throws had been an issue all year. There were some misses in this one, but 18 of 23, 78% will take, because it's been a lot worse than that at times throughout the season. I think that West Virginia hit them down the stretch there in the end of it, in overtime when you had Honor Huff at the line. That's who you wanted there. That works out. And the one thing that I didn't see coming, I think, was West Virginia out-rebounding Oklahoma 32-31 and grabbing 11 offensive boards compared to 7 for Oklahoma, who kind of made hay there a lot throughout their season. So great job by West Virginia on the glass there in this one. Both teams with 17 assists. West Virginia with 7 steals, Oklahoma with 6 steals, 7 blocks for the Mountaineers. How about that? 3 for Oklahoma. West Virginia forces 14 turnovers, only turns it over 11 times themselves, which that was kind of the sweet spot to me this season. If you had between 10 to 12 turnovers, or of course if you had single digits, that's always great, but that's rare that's going to happen. So another good game for West Virginia on that side of things. Not too many fast break points in this one. Oklahoma actually dominates points in the paint, 42-26, but a good portion of that is because West Virginia was shooting the 3-ball well. They didn't have to attack in the paint as much as they often have had to throughout the season anyways. You see the fouls there, not too big of a discrepancy, 18 for Oklahoma, 13 for the Mountaineers. And such a game of swings this one was. Oklahoma led by 13 at one point. West Virginia led by 15 in the first half. So, when Oklahoma led by 13, that was in the second half. So another double-digit deficit rally for West Virginia in the second half of this game, and they only lead for 37% of the game, but all that matters is that you're leading at the end, and West Virginia indeed was 89-82 to win the College Basketball Crown Championship. We look at the individual numbers here. Nigel Pack, ended up with a good game for Oklahoma, but I love the defensive job West Virginia did on the secondary scores. Xavier Brown only ends up with 13. He takes 15 shots to get there, doesn't hit a 3-ball. Tay Davis did have a pretty good game, but, all in all, West Virginia held this Oklahoma team that I think had 4 guys averaging double figures, and some of the ones that had been, doing a good job for them, West Virginia managed to, contain enough to go ahead and get this win. Nigel Pack hit some big shots. Him and Honor Huff going back and forth was fun to watch there towards the end of this game. And you look at the Mountaineers here, you had Brennan Lorient with a big game, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. Obi Oha with 2 blocks in this game, one of them being a crucial one in overtime. And then Jasper Floyd, had been 0 of 8 from the field all game. And then in overtime comes out and hits 2 incredibly clutch threes, ends up 2 or 3 from the 3-point line. So only 6 points, but probably the biggest possible 6 points he could have had right there in overtime. 6 points, 6 assists for Jasper. But of course, the story of the game is Honor Huff. We'll get to that momentarily. I don't want to miss on Chance Moore, who I think is a big reason West Virginia wins in this tournament, not only with the way that he comes in and drives the ball, gets to the free throw line, hits tough finishes at the rim, tough layups at the rim, but his rebounding was a major key in this tournament. 23 rebounds in the past 2 games for West Virginia, 13 in the semifinals, now 10 tonight, a double-double yet again, 19 points, 10 rebounds for Chance Moore. He had a block of his own and 3 steals. But we got to talk Honor Huff, right? In this game, he sets the WVU new school record for most threes in a season, passing Frank Young. I think he ended up at 118. Frank Young had 117. His 38 points in this game are the most scored by West Virginia Mountaineers since Deshaun Butler back in 2009 when he scored, I think, 43 against Villanova, if I remember correctly. So the biggest point performance by a West Virginia individual player in, 17 years? That's huge. 8 of 15 from the 3-point line, 12 of 12 from the free throw line, and West Virginia needed all of those. And, of course, adds 4 assists as well. I think that's something in this tournament that he showed a good job, or showed a good propensity to do here in the tournament that we hadn't really asked him to do all season, and that's distribute the ball. Part of that because Amir Jenkins being out, so Honor Huff kind of became the secondary point guard, secondary ball handler for West Virginia at times throughout this tournament, and he really made a lot of good decisions off the pick and roll. And when he has that ball in his hand, he draws a double team at times. He was able to drive and kick to shooters, or he was able to drive and dump to the big man down low, and West Virginia score there as well. But in this game, probably more so than at any point this season, and he's done it multiple times, he truly put the team on his back there at the end. Nigel Pack hit a three that could have been a dagger. Honor Huff answers, hits one of his own, and then that just goes back and forth all the way there. Big shots from Jasper, then Honor Huff with the big free throws to kind of seal the deal down the stretch. And it's a huge win for West Virginia. You love to see it, man. You love to see it. So I had to go over the numbers in that one. Let's go over, hit a couple of tweets here, then we'll play some clips, and then I want to get to some of your all's comments as well, because I know you guys got thoughts as much as I do. But let's see here. We got the graphic from WVU, just kind of highlighting what we talked about there with Honor Huff. Might as well drive it home again, right? 38 points, over 50% from the three-point line at 8 of 15, and 100% on the free throw line. Sets the school record for threes in a season. Most points scored by a West Virginia player since 2009. Honor Huff, 2 points shy of a 40-burger in this game. That's impressive stuff. And, of course, we got the graphic for what I talked about there as well. The single-season school record for most three-pointers in a season now belongs to Honor Huff as well. And last thing I want to hit on with him is just because it's an interesting tidbit, and, I kind of forgotten about it for a minute until it just kind of jogged my memory when I was texting a friend after the game. Honor Huff now in his junior season won an NIT championship, and then his senior season wins the college basketball crown championship. You get Honor Huff in a postseason tournament, he's going to carry your team to that title. That's what it looked like here over his last couple of seasons for sure in his collegiate career, and glad to see him go out the right way. Would love to have him and multiple of these other guys for another season, but I think we got a good foundation built, and these guys are the ones that laid that foundation, which we'll talk more about momentarily. But I teased this a little bit earlier talking about it. Mike Asti is the one I saw tweet this, but only the third time in WVU basketball history that we've won a postseason tournament. 1942, the NIT, which was kind of the big tournament back then before the NCAA tournament came around. 2007, we won the NIT again. And then 2026, we win the college basketball crown. So it's been 19 years since the last time, and only the third time. And, West Virginia storied history, so we got to celebrate these moments when they arrive for sure. Got to celebrate these moments. And then just lastly, as I talked about, laying the foundation for the future, and I think Ross Hodge has done just that with this season. We talked about 20-plus wins on the year, first 20-win season in 6 or 7 years at WVU, and he ends year one at WVU with the trophy, as Skylar Callahan here tweeted out. 9-9 in the Big 12, 7th place finish, was picked 11th, and the highest rated recruit in program history coming into the fold. Not to mention who else knows may be added to that class, and then the portal opening on Tuesday. We'll see what we get out of the portal, but I think with the recruits we have coming in, the players we could have potentially return, and some portal prospects we could add, I think the roster will be improved next season, and you just won a college basketball crown in a 20-plus win season with this roster. So I think the future is really bright. And like I said, it's hopefully foretelling that the last college basketball crown winner, what they did this season, hopefully West Virginia is able to replicate that in some form or fashion, right? So other than that, I just want to get some of these clips from the post game here, and then I'll get some of your all's comments, all right? Here's Honor Huff being interviewed post game.
And he's got the hat, the crown champion. We saw the emotion, all your teammates celebrating you after this game went final. How important was it for you guys to close this one out with a W?
I mean, it's our last game for some of us seniors, man. It's crazy, like. And a lot of us were underrated, under-recruited, and it's crazy because we're here right now with a team that we just love each other, man. We want to pull it out for each other. You can tell by the end of the game when we just brought it out for each other. I can't even explain the feeling, man.
You had ice in your veins, a big 38 points and 8 triples. What was going through your mind in this one?
I just didn't want to go out with a loss, man. I love my brothers too much. I mean, they believe in me. My coaches believe in me no matter if the shot is falling or not. And I didn't want to go out. We came this far. Didn't come this far to come this far, so we had to get a win.
Congratulations. Thank you, Honor Huff and the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Beautiful. Got to love that. And then we have a clip here from when he was given the MVP award as well.
Big thank you to Victory Rings for our Crown MVP chain. Oh my God. What? Very fancy. What? Oh my the God. Crown MVP goes to Honor Huff.
Yeah! Yes,
It's pretty cool that they give him a little necklace that thing was iced out, as he was talking about there. And then just lastly, wanted to share the clip of West Virginia getting, the trophy.
Thank you, Rob. It is now time to celebrate the college basketball crown champion, the West Virginia Mountaineers. On behalf of Fox Sports and AEG, it is now time to present the championship trophy.
Awesome stuff. Hey, find somebody that looks at you the way that Ross Hodge looked at the college basketball crown trophy when he was holding it up, right? That's exciting stuff, man. Pretty awesome. But yeah, I just had to come on, talk to stats, had to come on, give Honor Huff his flowers, give Ross Hodge his flowers, Chance Moore, all these guys, Belo, Jasper Floyd with the clutch shots, Harlan Obioha even with the clutch block down the stretch. A lot of big plays were made by these seniors, in this tournament to go out and get this championship, and especially here in the championship game. So wanted to come on and celebrate that and talk about them a little bit and, just chat with you guys. So let's get to it. Let's chat a little bit. Let me get to some of your all's comments here. You guys been dropping them in here. Appreciate you guys tuning in here live. If you guys didn't get a chance to tune in live, you can leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'll respond to them in due time afterwards. Always try and get to all your all's comments. Channel member Tosh Miller says, went out with a bang. Hey, that's right, Tosh. Indeed they did, man. Indeed they did. And can't lie, there were moments where I doubted it. When we were down big, I started to think, oh, man, they're going to pull away. And then this team did what they do. They showed that heart. They fought back in it. Got it to overtime. Then in overtime, Oklahoma pulled away a little bit there, was up 6, and I was like, oh, no, we're out of gas, aren't we? We're not going to have enough gas to do this. And then big shot from Jasper, big shot from Honor, the game's tied, and then we never looked back from there. You love to see it. Went out with the bang indeed. Hey, channel member Tim Green in the house. Good to see you, Tim. I ain't seen you in a while, man. He says, what's up, Mountaineer Nation? Let's rock and roll, baby. How about that? I was so glad we beat Oklahoma. As you know what. What's up, Jordan? Hey, what's going on, Tim? Good to see you, man. Good to see you, bro. Channel member Trey Edwards says, let's go. Hey, let's go Mountaineers, Trey. Super excited. Super excited. Channel member Devil Dog 44 says, let's go. When does basketball season start? Men and women's basketball going to be beats, and the Fighting Rodriguezes are going to turn heads next season. Yeah, man. They're going to be beasts, and Rodriguez is going to get things turned around this season as well. I think things are looking up across all the WVU sports for sure. Basketball is going to be fun next season. Got a chance to have 2 tournament teams, the women in there and the men in there. I think next year it's definitely highly possible, and I'm excited about it. And it might be a while before basketball season officially starts, but hey, the portal opens on Tuesday, so we'll be having, plenty to talk about in terms of roster building moving forward here, and I'll try and keep you guys up to date with all of that once the portal opens, so going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Mountaineers headline, my boy says, when did you go live? YouTube never gave me notification. YouTube's good for that, man. Half the time they never do, or if they do, it's late, but looks like you got in here just a couple minutes after I started. I think I started like 9:28, 9:27. I see that was a 9:29, so right in there. And he says, Honor Huff is the GOAT, by the way. Hey, he's a definite legend, man. That's an all-time performance. That's a legendary performance. That's one that, he'll be talked about now for years to come in WVU lore. I mean, he may have already had that, potential to be that, but now it's definite when he, scores that many points in a postseason tournament championship game, helps your team get the win with some clutch shots. And let's not forget, it was the first game of the tournament. Looked like we were going to fall. Honor Huff gets fouled on a 3, hits 3 clutch free throws to send us to overtime, and then we never looked back on that one. So he really bookended it with clutch performances both in the first game of the tournament and in the championship game as well. Definitely got to be one of the GOATs, right? Got to be one of the GOATs. Channel member Tim Green says, I'd like to say happy Easter to everyone on this channel. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Hey, agreed. I second that. Thank you guys for tuning in, and hope you guys had a good Easter. That's why, I know I had a couple of channel members ask if we were doing a watch party today, which, if you become a channel member here, what you can do with the join button down below, that's one of the perks is select WVU basketball and WVU football games. We do game watch party streams where we all hang out and watch the game together. You guys watch it on your end, we watch it on our end, and kind of chat about it, and had done that for, most of the games here in the Crown, but of course was out of town, visiting my in-laws and stuff for Easter, so didn't make it back in time for the start of the game. I made it back just before halftime, so I was like, well, you know what, maybe we'll just do a post-game show then. I haven't done a post-game in a long time, so here I am, post-game on the main channel, but glad we got to do that at least. Let's see. Cherry Edwards, channel member, says, I've voiced my opinion on X multiple times. I'm glad for it to finally be over, but I'm not ready for more Huff and Belo to be gone. Me neither, man. I loved all three of those guys. They really did have a lot of heart, and they really did always, seem like they laid it all out on the floor, so to speak, right? And you saw that for sure in this tournament. I thought Chance Moore really, not that he hadn't had some good games already, but as far as coming into his own as being aggressive, grabbing rebounds, he really showed something in this tournament in that aspect of things. And, I think that those are three guys that will probably continue to play basketball wherever it is, in the future, whether it's the G League, overseas, who knows where they'll land. But those three guys all have a lot of potential for sure. Belo with his athleticism, Chance Moore with his, hard-nosed style, good defender, good rebounder, and great, slasher, great attack of the basket. And then the way the game is played in the NBA now, I know Honor Huff's undersized, but you got to think somebody could pick him up on either a G League team or something and then work his way up, because all you can do is set a bunch of screens for that guy, let him get some shots off, and, he can help you. He can help out somebody for sure. So I'm going to miss him too. Wish those guys had more years to give, but hey, what can you do? Devil Dog says Huff should be a second-round NBA draft pick. You never know. You never know with how shooting's valued today. It's definitely a possibility. Josh Miller says Chance Moore was the game changer. His style of play got Oklahoma in foul trouble early. I'm glad Hodge finally benched Eaglestaff. I think that was a good move. I think that was a really good move that it went to in the second half. Eaglestaff had some good games here in the first couple of games in the tournament, but he just wasn't on tonight. And then plus he was, having some turnover issues, having some defensive issues. So I think, playing Chance more extensively in the second half and in overtime definitely was a huge difference in this game. And the fact that we did have Oklahoma in foul trouble, they were in the bonus, final, 10 minutes of the second half, and that helped a lot down the stretch for us, and especially helped a lot in overtime also. So I think that was a good point there for sure, Tosh. Hey, Tim Green, channel member, says defense travels, baby. I love our new coach. I hope he stays at West Virginia for a long time. Me too, man. Me too. I think as the season progressed, and especially here in the latter portion of the season, a lot of people were sold on Coach Hodge that were probably questioning him in the past. And I'm glad to see that the fan base start to finally come around on him, because as I've kind of said throughout most of the season here, were there some games we shouldn't have lost? Sure, but we also probably won some that we shouldn't have won. And I don't think that he had necessarily the very best roster that he could possibly have and that he will potentially have moving forward, and still found a way to win, over 20 ball games this season. First time we've done that in a while. So I got high hopes for the future with Ross Hodge around as well. Eric Flowers in the house. What's going on, Eric? Channel member here. Appreciate you, Eric. Says, finally got to see the trophy ceremony. We need a little statue somewhere for Honor Huff. I think this is the game that finally turns this program around. This is the We Are Back notification. Hey, I love it, Eric. I love it. I wouldn't mind Honor Huff getting recognized some way or form for sure. I think he deserves, some type of recognition. And hey, I wonder if they'll hang a banner. I mean, they got the Hungry NIT banner, right, when we won that championship. I mean, may as well get us a college basketball crown banner up in the Hope Coliseum as well. Channel member Trey Edwards says Amir and DJ are must keeps for next year, along with Forsyth and Fields. Completely agree. I'm hoping they get that medical red shirt and we get Fields back. That would be a great start for the front court to already have, one big man in tow there. DJ Thomas is definitely probably one that I am most focused on keeping. Not to say that the others are any less, but I think DJ Thomas just looks like he's got the potential to be special maybe. Amir Jenkins, definitely want to keep him. Jaden Forsyth, we didn't see the season, but with, a redshirt year under his belt, you still could have 4 years of eligibility with him, and he's a heck of a shooter as well. So I agree. I think all of those are guys we want to keep for sure. Trey says also those dice for the MVP chain are clean. I completely agree, man. Iced my man Honor Huff out with those. Honor definitely deserved those dice, is right, Eric. Hey, channel member Nathan Scott, good to see you, man. He says, let's go. Ross and my Hodge tonight. Hey, that's right. That's right. We're all Ross and our Hodges tonight for sure. Let's see. Hey, Big Dan T in the house, another channel member, says like, share, and subscribe, guys. Yes, please. Always really helps a ton here. You know, it's part of my full-time job. Helps keep the food on the table. Helps me be able to keep the content coming. You know, if you can't afford to become a channel member, that's fine. I understand that. It's only $5 a month, by the way. But if you can't understand that, you can help out free of charge with the thumbs up button, with subscribing to the channel, and, you know, copy and pasting the link out always helps as well. Appreciate that reminder, Big Dan T, for sure. Let's see. Trey Edwards with a good point. Winning all of this without Amir is probably the most shocking thing, in my opinion. Yeah, I know. I think we were all worried when we were like, oh, no, we don't have our backup point guard now. And we were wondering how things would work with Honor, you know, kind of having to be the secondary point guard. And, you know, he didn't get many rests because of that. So not only did he do what he did, but he did it kind of being an Iron Man. And I think it goes to show, you know, Honor's game, you know, we used him off ball a lot, but you know, when he had the ball in his hands, I kind of liked it throughout this tournament. He made some good decisions, but I agree. That was pretty shocking for sure. Let's see here. All right, I think I got a good one here from Trey. He says, I do wish to know what was going through Harlan's mind when he shot that three. Oh, man. If we wouldn't have won this game, that would have been a moment that everybody pointed to like, oh, no. Yeah, that was, I mean, he was wide open. I think he did it the previous game too, but it's funny because I've seen him in warm-up. Sometimes he hits those, and I always wondered why he didn't shoot him in game, but I think the last couple games showed us that. And then a new channel member, hey, AO Truth. Appreciate you, AO Truth. That means a lot, man. And, you know, you just got yourself a ton of bonus content as well by becoming a channel member. It's all up on the channel. You got access to all the previous ones, all the ones that are coming in the future. We got behind-the-scenes videos. We got game watch parties. We got, you know, film reviews, and all that, of course, will come again when football season rolls around. Film reviews, player grades, snap counts after each game, monthly member hangout streams, early access to videos with the behind-the-scenes videos sometimes. The list goes on there for sure. So I really appreciate you, AEO Truth, and I think you'll enjoy it there. I think you'll enjoy it. With that being said, let me come up and try and catch up on some of the other comments as well. Now I think I've hit on all the channel members and our new member, AEO Truth, as well. It's not okay. Golf says, I'm rossing my Hodge so hard right now. Hey, you and me both. You and me both. It's not okay, Golf. Hey, good to see you, man. I ain't seen you in here in a while. It's not okay, Golf. Good to see you, man. Let's see. Make sure I'm not scrolling too far by here. Sometimes this thing gets rolling. It's hard to see. AO Truth with the crowns in the chat. That's right. That's right. Crown us. Crown the Mountaineers tonight. You love to see it. Mr. Zapman said, this team is amazing. To come back again after blowing the big early lead is unbelievable. Great win. Congratulations to the team. Well said, Mr. Zapman. Well said. And that's the one thing about this team. They never stopped fighting. You know, multiple times this season, they had come from behind wins. They had to come from behind win against Stanford in this tournament. Now will come from behind win in the championship game against Oklahoma as well. Definitely incredible. Definitely incredible. Tundra 1534 says, DJ Thomas reminds me so much of Kevin Jones. It isn't funny. The way he plays and his athleticism is about the same as Kevin Jones as well. He's a throwback type of player. You know, I like that comparison. I hadn't, you know, seen too many mention that one, but I do definitely see it. I think he's going to have to, I mean, he's hit some threes, hit some good shots, but I definitely think he's going to have to improve his shooting a little bit more to be in that Kevin Jones mold. Definitely improve the rebounding a little bit more. But I can see where you're saying with the similar play styles, neither one necessarily plays above the rim, kind of that old school crafty type of game. You know, they'll face up and hit the jumper on you, but they can back you down and be crafty with how they get to the rim to finish as well. I can see the comparison. I like the comparison, Tundra. I do. Jason Cole says, the West Virginia coach Ross Hodge is really good. They're going to be good in the future, but they play in the very tough Big 12 conference, which is among the best conferences in college hoops. Yeah, Big 12 is always tough, man. Always tough for sure. You know, if you can win in the Big 12, though, that pretty much means you can win, you know, beyond that. And I think that that's one thing that helped us here in this tournament, playing in that tough Big 12, because we weren't going to back down from, you know, the SEC and Oklahoma, despite the fact that, you know, they were throwing some haymakers there, trying to knock us out, had us on the ropes a couple of times, but we battled back because we're used to those tough games within the Big 12 for sure. I agree on that with the Big 12. Tundra 1534 says, WVU had the best team in the tournament. My gosh, that one player in Stanford about beat us by himself. He's a talented young man. Yeah, he is, man. He really is. Led the ACC in scoring. interested to see if he comes out, goes to the draft. He'll probably be definitely, a lottery pick if so. But yeah, he's a good player. He's a really good player. AO Truth says, DJ Thomas reminds me of Kevin Jones too. I could see it. I hadn't thought of it a lot previously, but I definitely can see it. Mr. Zapman says, I've been on as Ernie B, but this chat now identifies you by your handle instead of your name. Yeah, I don't know why YouTube started doing that. It's like it's the handle instead of the names now. I don't know. And I've looked to try and change it. There's no setting to change it. I think it's just like a thing that YouTube did generally. But I remember you. I remember Ernie B. I got you now, Mr. Zapman. Let's see. Tundra 1534 says, Harlan Obioha needs to play left tackle for Rich Rod. Not the most talented center we have had, but he hustled all the time and played his heart out. Yeah, he had some, downsides to his game for sure, but I think the one thing you could never question was, his effort. He was laying it on the line. You saw that on display in this tournament multiple times, especially in that semifinal game, diving into the second row, taking out the cameraman at one point. Now, he took an ill-advised 3 or 2 in this tournament, but luckily didn't come back to bite us. But I definitely loved his hustle and, like you said, playing his heart out. And I think the biggest play, the play that I'll remember Harlan Obioha for, is that block in overtime here in this game to help us secure this victory. So, definitely laid it all out there on the line, and you got to respect that. WVU Forest says, let's go Mountaineers. That's right, WVU Forest. That's the college basketball crown champion Mountaineers now, actually. Atlanta Show says, Huff was amazing as always. Love that young man, but big props to Jasper Floyd. How big were those 2 3-pointers in OT after being scoreless? Yeah, and think about the kahunas you have to even take those shots when you've been ice cold all night. You haven't made a single shot all night, and these shots could very well make or break you in this tournament. If he misses either one of those, we may not win this game. So absolutely clutch shots from Jasper. And to me, I think it's super poetic because earlier in the season and in the early portions of the season and even some throughout the middle and latter portion of the season, the fan base was really hard on Jasper Floyd, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that because, yeah, he may lack offensively sometimes, but, night after night, he was really good defensively against most guards that he was asked to defend, which we talked about the Big 12, how tough it is. He was really good on-ball defender, made good decisions most of the time, but I think to have that come all the way around to where now he is one of the main reasons you win the college basketball crown championship was pretty poetic to me. That, someone that took a lot of flack from the fan base ends up being one of the heroes, and then that fan base gets to kind of glorify him at the end of his run here at WVU, which I think is pretty awesome. And I was glad to see, and shout out to Jasper Floyd for those clutch shots for sure. Tundra says Chance Moore at wide receiver would be must-see TV. I would love to see his athleticism on a football field. Dude, put him at tight end. Make him a matchup nightmare. I think, yeah, he could have been a good football player, especially with how aggressive he is when he gets downhill. Hey, we got Silas in the house. The champs are here. The champs are here. Hey, that's right. College basketball crown champs. Mountaineers headline said he's also the first player to win the NIT and crown back-to-back. Interesting. So I wasn't aware of that, but that makes sense considering the crown's, still young in its existence. But I was pretty impressed already that he did that. But now to be the first player makes it even more of an accomplishment. And another just check in the pro box of Honor Huff and his legendary status at WVU, right? Tundra says, what surprised me is all season long we couldn't shoot, but in this tournament, they looked like a whole different team. Yeah, completely some of the best offensive performances of the season came in this tournament. I think we were over 80 points every game in this tournament, 89 points the past 2 games in each of the past 2 games, and that's what you like to see. And hopefully that's a sign of things to come in the future when, Ross Hodge is more comfortable with his roster offensively. I think maybe we'll see some more of that. And hopefully, you get that offense playing more consistently like it did here in this tournament, and the defense stays on par. You're going to win a lot of ball games next season. So we'll see what happens. But I agree. The best offensive basketball came here in the tournament, I think. AO Truth says, we are the champions. Hey, that's right, AO Truth. Appreciate you, man. Donnie Love, so awesome. Congrats, Mountaineers. Way to end the season strong. Well said, Donnie. Well said. Completely agree. Let's see. Good work on the coverage, Jordan. Hey, thank you, Donnie. Appreciate the shout out there, man. Appreciate that a lot. Hey, Princeton Tigers winning a state championship, and now the Crown, probably the best year of Jordan's life. Hey, I was glad to see Princeton win it, but I'm a Bluefield Beaver. Do got to throw that in there, but still Mercer County getting a title is pretty awesome either way. So it's pretty cool for sure. I'm definitely excited about it, man. The college basketball Crown championship, I know a lot of people are like, well, you weren't in the big dance or whatever, but nah, man, it feels great. I'm ecstatic right now. I think it feels awesome. And I think Ross Hodge said it best, kind of going into this thing. There's only, 2 or 3 teams, I guess it's 3 because of the NIT as well, that get to end their season with a win. And West Virginia is one of those this year that gets to end their season with a win. And that's pretty awesome. It's a rare occurrence, so you got to celebrate it when it happens for sure. John Kelly, good to see you, John. Ain't seen you in a while, man. He says, tonight was our moment for sure. We were brothers on the floor. I think that's a definite great point right there, John, because this team, the way that they fought for each other, you can tell that these guys really gelled chemistry-wise. They all, played for each other, left it all on the floor time and time again. And I think, saying they're brothers on the floor is a great way to put that, because that was definitely on display in this tournament and on display tonight. Donnie Love says Huff will be too small for the NBA, but will play overseas and be successful. Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a G League team give him a shot at some point. But wherever he ends up, I think he will be successful as well. When you shoot the ball that good, somebody's going to find a role for you somewhere professionally, for sure. As well they should. Tundra says Huff could be one of the few players that do better in the pro versus college because NBA doesn't play defense and they value three-point shooting. That was my point earlier. I know he's undersized, but, if you can just run him off screens, play him sparingly in the game and let him, hey, when you get in there, we're going to run you a bunch of screens, bunch of elevator screens, this and that. You just run around the court, run your man ragged, get open and shoot some threes for us. Some team could use that. Some team could use that for sure. I don't really watch pro sports personally, but I do know that everybody in the NBA seems to shoot threes now, even the big men and all that. So, Don Johnson said, we have suffered enough, and now our football and basketball teams are back, baby, and our suffering is over. We have good days ahead. Completely agree, Don. I completely agree. It feels like not only, I think someone in the chat earlier mentioned this being the turning point for the basketball team, and it very well may be the turning point for the basketball program, but I think we just feel the whole tide turning for WVU athletics in general. Just everything is kind of looking up right now with the decisions that are being made within the athletic department, with the progression of, multiple sports programs that you can see, whether it's the women's basketball, whether it's the men's basketball, whether it's football, which I think we'll see a big turnaround in this season, and I really like what they've done throughout the offseason. Baseball's on the rise. Really good in baseball. Wrestling's had a great run lately. Rifle team, back-to-back national championships. You go on down, soccer's been good lately. You go on down the list there. I think that, we got a chance to enter a really good era of WVU athletics here moving forward for sure. Big Dante said, I think Honor never wants to come off the court anyway, so it worked. Yeah, if it was up to him, he'd play all 40 minutes every game. So, I'm sure he wasn't mad that he was going to be asked to do more here throughout the tournament. And, he took that on, put it on his shoulders, and carried the team. So I was glad to see it. I was glad to see it for sure. Welcome, Truth. That's right, Trey. Welcome another channel member into the fold that we can have some fun with in the members-only streams and all that, game watch parties. I'm always excited to get some new members in here, man. It's always a lot of fun with all the members-only content. Nathan Scott said, Darian and Tucker who? Yeah, think about that, too. Ross Hodge, first 20-win season since 2019 or 2020, whichever year it was, at WVU, and he did it with likely out, NBA players. There might be some guys that end up on rosters, but you look at the team that DeSleaze had last year, you had multiple NBA players on that thing. Javon Small, Toby O'Connie are both in the NBA right now, both playing for the Grizzlies. Maybe his son arguably could be an NBA player as well. Ross Hodge did it with, no NBA players, and I would argue not nearly as good of a roster, ends up with a better record. And that's why I think, one of the things you have to look at for the future with Ross Hodge, and that's why I keep kind of trying to hammer that home, that this could only be the tip of the iceberg. The future could be really bright, because I think the rosters are only going to get better moving forward as we look, at the recruiting class coming in next year. And if they can continue to replicate that each year, it's going to be fun to be a West Virginia basketball fan. That's for sure. This one was for the state of West Virginia. Hey, that's right, John Kelly. Well said. Well said. Silas says spring football event 2 weeks away. Let's go. I can't wait, man. I was thinking about that today. Not this coming Saturday, but the one after that. Get to head up to Morgantown for the spring festival. I always enjoy checking out the spring game, and especially this year because, as I've said, throughout my coverage of spring football, this team, this year in spring, you're going to get to see kind of more of a finalized version of the team than what you usually do because you used to have that portal window after spring. This year you don't. So going to get to see pretty close to a finalized version of the team this year, which is awesome. Eric Flowers says, I will excuse Harlan's wide open three because he dove off the court the game before. Yeah, and I'll excuse it because then he ended up getting that blocked shot later on in overtime that made a difference. So I think we can excuse him because we ended up with, the wins in those games still yet. So, hey, take you a couple, Harlan. Why not? It's the postseason. AO Truth says, let's go. Hey, let's go Mountaineers. AO Truth, appreciate you, man. Welcome to you. Welcome to you. Appreciate the other channel members being kind and they're welcoming AO Truth in. Hey, what's up, Jimmy Rollins in the chat? What's up, JR? Let's go. Let's go. Champs. Huff's a dog. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Eric Flowers says, WVU has always been in the best basketball conferences. I still won't say we're a basketball school. Let's get ready for some football. Yeah, I mean, you guys know I always prefer football, but I think that the good thing about West Virginia is that they're typically pretty good in both sports, and a lot of programs don't have that. A lot of programs have really good football team and maybe a decent to average basketball team or vice versa. And West Virginia is, a team that's pretty consistently been good in both, and that's always fun, but always looking forward to football season. You know it, man. You know it. John Kelly says, figured we earned the Big 12 some love for beating Oklahoma and taking home the crown. That's a good point as well. A little revenge there for the Big 12. A little revenge for the Big 12. And man, Mo Waggy, if you'd have just stayed at WVU, you'd be a crown champion right now as well. Let's not forget Mo Waggy playing there for Oklahoma also. Let's see. Getting OB in the portal was a big-time get because we had to have a big. That is a good point. That is a good point. Without Harlan Obioha, your tallest player on this team that played minutes would have been, 6'9". So having Harlan there as the 7-footer made a huge difference. I agree on that point of things. I knew Big Dan T would have something to say about that. He says, you don't have to bring us down by saying you're a Beaver Cruz. Well, hey, listen, I gotta let it be known. I can't be having people think I'm one of those daggone Princeton Tigers, man. Oh gosh. No, I'm kidding. I don't have nothing against Princeton. I never went there. I've lived in Princeton most of my life, but never went to Princeton. So just wasn't my vibe, I guess, right? Let's see. Yeah. Could you imagine that, Tundra, if this team could have had Javon Small and Honor Huff together? That would have been scary. That would have been scary for opponents, for sure. Tim Green, channel member, says Honor Huff wants to be a TV announcer, a sports announcer. This is what he was saying just the other day, and I think he'll have great success doing so when he chooses to do so. Yeah, I was going to say he'd make a great coach as well. I think he'll have a long career playing wherever he ends up, whether it's NBA, G League, overseas, or what have you. I think he'll end up having a great career. But, if he wants to be an announcer, he could definitely do that. But he probably could get himself into coaching, too. I think either one would be a good path for him, though, for sure. Let's see. Eric Flowers said, love to see Huff stay close to the program in any capacity. We could use him. I wouldn't mind that at all. JR says, would you consider this your success compared to DeVries' first year? Definitely. I think you might not have been in here yet when I was talking about it, but to me, definitely more successful. First 20-plus win year for West Virginia since 2019, and Ross Hodge did it with a not nearly as good roster as DeVries had. DeVries had at least 2 NBA players on that roster, with Javon Small and Toby Oconee both playing for the Grizzlies currently. You may say that, Tucker could be an NBA player as well, so you could say potentially 3 NBA players maybe, and I don't think anyone on this team will get drafted. Maybe they'll end up on a roster at some point, but you could argue that there's no NBA players on this team, has a better record, wins a tournament championship. So I think you got to think that this season is more successful, not only because it was win-wise, but because when you compare the rosters, I think DeVries' team had the better roster overall compared to this team, and this team did more with less, which really gets you excited about the future with Ross Hodge when he gets in the Miles Sadlers of the world, highest ranked basketball recruit in school history, plus the others that may come along with him, and we'll see what we do in the portal. Next year when he has what I think will be at least an above average roster, it's going to be exciting to see what he can do with that. Tundra said, I'm not the biggest fan of the transfer portal, but man, it makes the offseason exciting during the downtime. 100% agree. I've got my positives and negatives about it as well, but one of my main positives is the content that it provides here on the channel. Plenty of time to come on here and talk about portal prospects that West Virginia's contacted, which we'll have plenty of live streams doing that starting next week. Cover all of the commitments, all of that helps out here and gives us something to discuss. And like you said, pushes us through the off season during the downtime. That is the plus side of it. Of course, my camera battery just died. Hold on, guys. Let me switch this battery really quickly. I'm still here. I can still, you guys can hopefully still hear me, I think. But I thought about changing this before the start of the stream, but had it pretty well charged. But wasn't expecting so many people to tune in tonight either. You guys are doing awesome there in the chat. Appreciate you guys with your questions and comments. There we are. All right. Tundra says, hey, Bluefield Beavers got a talented young quarterback in Whiteout. They come in this year for the title in AA. I could see it. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Both those young men had good seasons last year, and they made a nice little run, especially with them being freshmen. Started the year slow, but once they came into their own, some big wins there, in the playoffs and stuff. So I could definitely see them, coming forward, if not this year, at some point throughout their careers for sure. JR says, would you take this championship over like a Sweet 16 run? It's tough. The big dance is always fun, and I think the goal there is if you make it to the second weekend, get to that Sweet 16, you feel like it's a success. But I think I kind of revert back to what Ross Hodge said going in the tournament, which I talked about a little bit earlier. There's like 3 teams that get a chance to end their season with a win. West Virginia is one of those this year, and so that's a pretty sweet feeling, is getting to end the season with a win, and it's rare. And the fact that this is only the 3rd time in WVU history that they've won a postseason championship, you got 1942, it was 1942 or I think it was 1942, 2007, and 2026 now. The 3 times West Virginia has won a championship: 1942 in NIT, 2007 NIT, and the 2026 college basketball crown. So I think you got to take that. Big Dan T says, I hope Darren and Tucker watch the Crown Sig at home, bastards. Hey, me and you both, man. I hope those two are punching the air right now. Oh, you love it. Karma's sweet, ain't it? Karma's sweet. They don't even make the tournament. That doesn't work out the way that they planned, and we end up with potentially a better coach, and we end up with the college basketball crown championship. I'll take that any day of the week. Karma. It's a dish best served cold, or revenge is a dish best served cold. Whatever you're serving, just serve it to them. That's all I'm saying. Jordan, who do you think was more talented, Amani Hansberry or Brennan Lorient? Ooh, that's a good question. Good question, Tundra. Amani Hansberry is a little bit younger, I think, right? I think Amani Hansberry still has another year left after this year, if I'm not mistaken. I might lean his way, but I will say Brennan Lorient, far more athletic. If Brennan Lorient gets a shot at the next level, it's, partially because of his athleticism. If he can improve his jump shot just slightly, I think he's got a good chance to get a shot because he can jump out of the gym. He's underrated shot blocker, and you saw on him fly in that dunk in the semifinals how athletic he is. But I think if you're talking like pro prospect wise, probably Hansberry because his ability to shoot it a little bit more. But that's a good comparison there as well with those two. I would have loved to keep Hansberry for this year also. Hey, what's up, Coop? Good to see you, man. I ain't seen you in a while. He says, you think Sadler starts day one? I do. I do think Miles Sadler's going to come in and start day one. This is a program-changing type of player. He's going to start. He's going to get plenty of minutes. He's going to be probably one of the team leaders despite being a freshman, I think. He's that type of player, that type of talent. You get a guy like that, you got to get him on the court for sure. Well, early prediction, y'all starting too early to tell. Got to wait till we see what happens in the portal. But I mean, I think if we retain who we can retain, DJ Thomas will definitely be a starter, I believe. Miles Sadler will be a starter, I believe. potentially Amir Jenkins, if he's healthy enough to be a starter. That could be 3 guys right there. We'll see what happens. Jaden Forsyth, I think, probably comes off the bench. Other than that, you're looking at 2 or 3 transfers, I think, in your starting lineup, possibly. Just off the top of my head right now, I think a couple of transfers could at least be in that starting lineup. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see on that one. But definitely, above average roster due to the fact of the recruiting class that you're bringing in already and who you could potentially return with the year that DJ Thomas had, with how highly regarded Amir Jenkins was, with Jaden Forsyth as well as another 4-star that didn't even play this year, redshirted, and he's supposed to be an absolute sniper. So, I think definitely an above average rosters, at least for sure. Belo over the last 3 years has grown so much as a player, Big Dan T says. Completely agree. And we saw him this season get, even better, for sure. Tundra says we need Hawthorne to leave Kentucky and come home. Now, that would be a good one. Haven't seen where he's planning on hitting the portal yet, but if he does, that's got to be one that we're in on for sure. I hate that he bailed on us and ended up at Kentucky anyway. But, we'll see what happens moving forward. I think there's plenty of players in the portal that have West Virginia connections. I talked about some of them on a stream earlier this week, and that'll be something we'll be covering here in the next few days as the portal opens, I think, day after tomorrow. So we'll learn more about players West Virginia's in contact with. I can talk about that on future streams. So there'll be plenty more live streams coming up here in the future, guys, for sure. Big Dan T says, my former life as a nurse, I don't see how Jenkins will make it back in time. I see him redshirting. That's one thing I am concerned about, is if he will make it back in time to be a contributor, especially from the beginning of the season. And if he's not ready then, do you go ahead and redshirt him? You brought him in a year early anyway, so I guess that is a possibility. Something we'll have to keep an eye on throughout the offseason for sure. Somto Cyril will be a heck of a big out of the portal. Is that the one from Georgia Tech, Coop? Talked about him last week. If so, I think so. Which I would love to get the guy from Georgia Tech. That's a former teammate of Miles Sadler. You got Miles Sadler, Alio Doom coming in. Could get him. And we're still keeping our eyes on Paul Asaruyi. Rumor going around is he may reclassify. And if he reclassifies to be a part of this year's recruiting class, West Virginia's got a great chance to land him, and that would be another 5-star. You'd be bringing in 2. And he's actually higher rated than Miles Sadler, so, he would probably become the highest rated recruit in school history. But it depends on how the rating would change with the reclassification. But he's the number 3 junior in the entire nation. So, he's way up there as well. So we'll keep that one. We'll keep that. Okay, that's the one from Georgia. Somewhat Cyril's the one from Georgia. Okay, I was thinking of Muhammad Sia from Georgia Tech. That's right, Mountaineers headline. They got similar last names. I guess it's the Cyril and the Sela that threw me off there. But yeah, I'll take either one, man. I'll take either one. That's definitely something we'll probably need, is at least one big out of the portal, if not a couple. But I think they're targeting a lot of length there in the portal from what I understand. That's going to be kind of one of the priorities. So that'll be good news. Can't wait to talk more about that. Next week, we'll get into more portal talk and all of that. But I appreciate you guys, man, tuning into this one a little bit later than I usually do these streams. And this one went longer, but I wanted to be on here and try and get to all your all's comments as well, as we had a championship to celebrate. So a lot of fun here chatting with you guys. If you haven't yet, be sure you subscribe to the channel. Be videos coming out Monday through Friday. WVU News Daily Show, where we cover all WVU sports throughout Mountaineer Nation. That releases every morning here, Monday through Friday on the main channel. So if you subscribe, you'll get those directly into your feed, plus be notified when I go live. And, of course, we'll have plenty of live streams coming up with spring football coverage and, of course, the basketball portal opening. We're going to have a ton to talk about there in live stream situations as well. So be plenty of pre-recorded, as always. There always is Monday through Friday, at least one pre-recorded video, but be plenty more live streams coming up as well. So be sure you're subscribed here. Hit the thumbs up button before you head out, whether you watch live or in a playback. If you didn't get a chance to, chat here with us live, throw your thoughts in the comment section. Always appreciate those interactions. Not only do they help the channel, but I just like chatting the Mountaineers with you guys. Getting a chance to talk about them with you guys is always fun. And Big Dan T, channel member, with a great sentiment to end this on. Happy Easter, everyone. Yeah, hope everyone had a happy Easter, and I think no better way to end it than with a college basketball crown championship, right? So congratulations to Ross Hodge. Congratulations to Honor Huff for a legendary all-time performance here tonight to help us win that crown championship game. All the seniors, Jasper Floyd with those clutch shots, Harlan Obihal with the big block, Belo with some big performances, Chance Moore with another double-double in this one. So congratulations to all of those guys, and thanks for laying the foundation for the future of WVU basketball with all those guys now moving on that are seniors. They go out as winners of the College Basketball Crown Championship and, get to end the season with a win, which we're really excited about. First 20-win season for WVU in 6 or 7 years. Honor Huff scores the most points by a WVU player since 2009. Just plenty to be happy about tonight. So not only is it Happy Easter, but it's extra happy just because West Virginia made us that much more happy with this College Basketball Crown Championship, guys. With that, I'm going to duck out of here, get ready to call tonight so I can hop on here early again in the morning with some WVU news and get the WVU News Daily Show going for you guys. But appreciate you guys as always. And until next time, let's go Mountaineers. And that's the College Basketball Crown Championship Mountaineers, by the way.